On the evening of May 11, 2016, 25-year-old Chinese architecture student Yangjie Li laced up her running shoes and stepped out for a jog through the quiet streets of Dessau, a small city in the German state of Saxony-Anhalt. It was spring, the air was cool, and she followed a familiar route past apartment blocks and closed shops. Friends later remembered she wore a light gray top, black pants, and black sneakers, her long hair pulled back into a ponytail, music playing through her headphones. She never came home. 2 days later, police would find her brutally murdered. A crime that exposed systemic failures, police bias, and chilling cruelty behind closed doors. Yangjie was born in 1990 in Jiaozuo, Henan Province, China, the only child of loving parents. Known for her gentle personality and artistic talent, she studied architecture at Henan University of Science and Technology. Her dream was to master Bauhaus-inspired design, and when she was accepted to the prestigious Anhalt University of Applied Sciences in 2015, it felt like her ambitions were coming true. Dessau, where the Bauhaus movement began, was a small but historically rich city about 2 hours from Berlin. The architecture program was internationally recognized and taught in English, attracting hundreds of students from around the world. By 2016, roughly 600 Chinese students were studying there. Yangjie quickly adapted to life in Germany, sharing an apartment with other Chinese classmates and preparing to graduate with her master's degree. On May 11th, after finishing her classes, Yangjie ran errands, returned to her shared apartment on Johannesstrasse, and changed into workout clothes. Around 8:30 p.m., she waved goodbye to her roommates and stepped out for a jog, something she often did. Hours passed, but she didn't return. Her friends grew anxious, calling her repeatedly with no answer. They retraced her usual route through Hausmannstrasse toward the city park, but found no trace of her. By the next morning, still no word. The worried roommates alerted the school's Chinese student liaison, who quickly reported her missing to the local police. Dessau police responded with urgency. They mobilized officers, helicopters with thermal cameras, and sniffer dogs. Local Chinese residents and students joined the search, while news of her disappearance spread on social media and reached the Chinese embassy in Berlin. But by nightfall, no clues had surfaced. Police traced her phone signal. It last connected to a tower near her home at 9:40 p.m. that night. Oddly, when investigators tried to call her phone the next morning, a man answered briefly before hanging up. Minutes later, the phone was switched off permanently. On May 13th at 11 a.m., search teams made a devastating find. Hidden beneath a pine tree beside an apartment building on Hausmannstrasse, just 100 meters from her own apartment, and only a short walk from a police station, lay a young woman's body. It was naked, battered, and so badly injured that identification required DNA testing. It was Yangjie. Forensic experts determined she had suffered multiple fractures, defensive wounds, and prolonged assault before dying, sometime between the night of May 11th and the early morning of May 12th. Her clothes, phone, and apartment keys were missing. Male DNA was found on her body, but no match appeared in the national database. The case stunned the local community and Chinese diaspora, yet from the beginning there were troubling signs of bias and incompetence. Yangjie's father, Mr. Li, a veteran police officer in China, flew to Germany with his wife after hearing the news. Grieving but methodical, he visited the site where his daughter was found and reviewed her jogging route. He believed she had likely been killed nearby, not transported from far away. He urged investigators to thoroughly check the adjacent apartment building, especially an under-construction section that seemed suspicious. At the same time, police pursued a different theory, that Yangjie had been abducted elsewhere and her body dumped back in town. Searches focused on remote outskirts rather than the building steps from the crime scene. On May 23rd, nearly 2 weeks after the murder, 20-year-old Sebastian Flesch walked into Dessau police headquarters with his fiancée, Zania Lang. Sebastian wasn't a stranger to law enforcement. His mother, Ramona, was a longtime police officer, and his stepfather, Jörg, was the chief of Dessau police. Sebastian said he wanted to explain why his DNA might be found on the victim. He claimed that on May 10th, the night before Yangjie vanished, Zania had invited Yangjie to join them for a consensual threesome, He alleged they spent an hour together and that she left unharmed. Fearing his DNA could falsely implicate him, he wanted to clear things up. Investigators arrested Sebastian and detained Zania the same day. Both denied involvement in the murder but agreed to provide DNA samples. The results were decisive. Sebastian's DNA matched the evidence on Yangjie's body. Police searched the couple's apartment at 9 Johannesstrasse, the same building Mr. Li had flagged. They initially found nothing incriminating, but when they expanded the search to unoccupied units in the partially renovated building, they uncovered a nightmare. One vacant first-floor apartment was splattered with bloodstains reaching 3 meters up the walls, a scene prosecutors later described as resembling a torture chamber. On May 24th, Chief Prosecutor Volker Bittmann announced the arrest but focused on unproven claims that Yangjie had willingly taken part in sexual acts with the suspects. For her grieving parents, this was devastating. They filed a complaint for damaging their daughter's reputation, but officials kept Bittmann on the case. Media repeated the threesome claim, angering Chinese students and many Germans who felt it smeared the victim and protected those in power. Vigils, petitions, and protests soon followed. Further outrage grew when journalists revealed Sebastian had over 40 prior charges, yet no DNA record in the system, sparking suspicion his police officer mother had shielded him. Witnesses saw Ramona and Jörg helping Sebastian move boxes after the murder, though they later denied involvement. The couple even held a beer garden opening the day after Yangjie's funeral, causing public fury. Pressure eventually forced authorities to suspend them and hand the case to investigators in Halle. The new team quickly uncovered key evidence. CCTV showed that at 9:34 p.m. on May 11th, Zania lured Yangjie inside while pretending to need help. She was never seen alive again. Hours later at 2:24 a.m., Sebastian briefly stepped out and returned. Digital traces revealed he had searched violent sexual content and how to hide a body. Neighbors admitted hearing screams but ignored them, thinking it was the couple's usual disturbing behavior. Another woman later said Sebastian had assaulted her in 2013 and threatened her to stay silent. The trial began on November 25, 2016, with Sebastian and Zania both charged with murder. They initially stayed silent, shielding their faces from the media. But under mounting evidence, 19-year-old Zania eventually broke down and testified. She described a life shaped by abuse, sexually assaulted by her stepfather at 12, pregnant and abandoned at 16, and later trapped in a controlling relationship with Sebastian. He allegedly humiliated and punished her, forcing her into submission. On the night of May 11th, she said, Sebastian demanded she find another woman or he would leave her, even threatening her children. When she encountered Yangjie jogging, she pretended to need help moving a box to lure her upstairs. There, Sebastian ambushed the unsuspecting student, tied her up and assaulted her while forcing Zania to participate. Yangjie fought back courageously but was ultimately overpowered. Zania claimed she briefly left to calm her children and returned to find Sebastian had killed Yangjie, later helping him move and dump the body. Forensics confirmed that Yangjie endured prolonged sexual assault, physical torture, strangulation, and drowning while still alive. On August 4, 2017, the court sentenced Sebastian Fleck to life in prison for rape and murder. Zania Lang, tried under juvenile law, received only 5 years and 6 months, a punishment many found too light. Both appealed, but Germany's federal court rejected them in 2018. Sebastian has shown no remorse, telling a psychiatrist, "I am who I am. I don't want to change under German law." He could seek parole after 15 years. Meanwhile, his mother Ramona returned to her police job, and his stepfather Jörg stayed chief of police. Their beer garden closed after protests, but neither faced charges. Yangjie's murder shocked Chinese and German communities, exposing deep flaws in law enforcement. Police ignored key leads, including her father's request to search the nearby building. A prosecutor repeated an unproven sexual claim, damaging her reputation. Despite Sebastian's long criminal record, his DNA wasn't in the database, raising concerns about favoritism. Family ties to police seemed to delay scrutiny. Public outrage and pressure, especially from Chinese students and Germans, eventually forced action and led to convictions. Her parents took Yangjie's ashes back to China, mourning their only child. Anhalt University held memorials celebrating her talent. Students honored her with letters and offerings, promising she wouldn't be forgotten. Her case became a warning about safety, bias, and the need for fair investigations, especially when suspects have influence. Above all, Yangjie should be remembered as a gifted young woman with dreams of architecture whose life was stolen, but whose story inspires justice and change. Thank you so much for watching and staying with this story until the end. If you found this video meaningful and want to support more true crime stories told with care and respect, please give this video a like, leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Stay safe, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next video.